And hello, welcome to the League of Extraordinary Atheists for Humanism, where we attempt to apply logic and reason to religion and politics. I am here with my wonderful, beautiful co-host, Christy Santiago.
That's me. Happy Friday, guys. I'm glad to be back and to be feeling at least 60% better, at least. And we have a really intense show tonight. There's some things we need to talk about. Mac's going to tell us all about it. And we're going to start with some things first that he's going to share about our channel, and then kick us off into the meat and potatoes of this show. And we are having two topics tonight, so buckle your seatbelts, mates.
Yes, we have plenty for you guys tonight. I hope you guys like what we've collected. We've collected a lot. First things first, I wanted to address our cover for this week, our thumbnail. And if you guys don't know what that picture is referencing or what it is at all, I want to let you guys know that is Napalm Girl, or Fan Thi Kim Puck. If I pronounce the PH, it might be different. So Puck. Yes, I think so too.
Although
we
speak English, so it could be fuck.
It could be. She's a 9-year-old girl who survived a napalm attack in Vietnam. If I remember correctly, she was wearing clothes, but they were burnt off of her. Pretty traumatizing, traumatic experience. She lived through it. And the older woman that is to the right in the picture before the show starts, that is her, just like 50 or 60 years later. Yeah, she's gone around the world, like giving talks, and she has shown her scars. She's been very open about it, which is really great because she's just a living example of learning from our mistakes, or what we should learn from our mistakes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, chemical weapons are illegal and should never be used in any manner.
Yeah.
Full stop.
Full stop. So yeah, that's the. I wanted to get that part out of the way tonight. Like, I don't have a lot to mention on it, but we are trying to humanize the cost of war, and this picture really does represent that. Yeah, so is there anything you want to start with, Christy?
That was interesting. Sorry. I don't know what's going on. I did want to add, for people who like things broke down, so you can see if you did this number times how many minutes is in an hour, times how many hours are in a day, times how many days are in a week, times how many days are in a month, and then per year, I'm just going to give it to you. $250,000 a minute every single day for 13 years. A minute is what war costs this country. A minute. I've never made that much, ever. And I know I'm a person, but I can say that Jeff Bezos makes almost 3 million a minute, I think it is, which is insane. And he has the ability to wipe out world hunger alone by himself, and wakes up every gosh darn morning and I guess chooses not to or doesn't think about it, because he could never spend that money. Nobody could. His ancestors aren't going to be able to spend that money. Why shouldn't it go to solving something so simple? It just takes someone stepping up and doing it. And he has, so 250,000 a minute every single day for 13 years is what this war costs us. So think about that, because who pays for that? The working.
And just to be clear, and I'm sure you checked this, but I want to ask because I found it kind of difficult to keep all of my numbers straight. Is that absolutely like specifically for this country, or is that just
Yeah,
like
just
what all
just from 9/11,
Mhm.
just from 9/11.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
That's, I know.
Yeah.
I was like,
It's a lot.
wait, I'm gonna need to read that again. And I did fact check it on 6 different. It is the number. It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Oh, I
I'm
believe
a
it.
mathematician, but that ends up being a lot.
It
A
really
lot.
is. It really is
Yeah.
a lot. So yeah, all right. So that's just the war on terror, right?
Yep.
Um, so I have a graph. Let me make sure I pull up the right one here.
That's important.
Yeah.
And while you're looking for it, I will add 92% of that $250,000 a minute. 92% of that is of the war-related expenditures, and they have all flown into the Pentagon. 6% of that has been spent on foreign assistance and diplomacy. That's so fucked up. 1% of that is spent on medical services for our veterans. So that's disgusting.
That is pretty yucky. That's to say the least. All right. So to break that down a little bit more for us here, I have from occupy.com a report on Tuesday, March 19th of 2013,
Yeah,
just 1 decade after the war started. Let me pull up the larger graphic here. All right, so this is just a graph that I'm looking at of deaths, and I'll read it for you guys. So this is 330,000 direct war deaths for Afghanistan, Iraq, and Pakistan. For opposition forces is 86,400. Journalists is 319. Humanitarian workers, 375. U.S. military is 6,656. U.S. contractors is 6,307. Allied military and police is 26,405. Other allies is 1,398. Sorry, it's a little hard for me to read, and I'm not wearing my glasses. So the opposition forces are by far have had the most casualties that I've read to you, with 86,400. And then the other number, the other 2/3 of this graph is 201,885 people, civilians, have been killed in the first 10 years of this war. So I am going to try to give you guys all of my links tonight, kind of as I go through them. So here is the first one. It's the first graph, and you can click on it on this link here. There you go. And remember, this is just the first decade, which I thought was really interesting and sad. So also connected to that, I have another graph, and you guys can look this up on Wikipedia. I don't want to flood you because
no, stay away from Wikipedia.
Yeah,
I fact check them all the time. They're wrong about everything.
Are they?
Yes, about so much. I go to governmentinfo.org and get directly from the government the numbers that they put, and then I go to other countries and their government and I fact check them.
That's good.
But it's.
I've had to do some some
Reading
like
the government sites is like, I don't know. It's
makes you feel
believe.
like
Like
yeah.
just drones on, yeah. But
I yeah,
they get so much wrong.
yeah. No, I'm sure these aren't perfect. But the numbers that I found here are really interesting.
No,
Just
they match up with what I found.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this graph that I'm looking at here is monthly civilian deaths from violence, 2003 onwards.
Oh yeah.
And it's the casualties of the Iraq War. And I'm not going to read them all to you. I don't think. You know what? I'll just round them off. From 2003, the yearly total was 12,000. 2004, 11,000. 2005, 16,500. 2006, 29,500. 2007, 26,000. 2008, 10,000. So that's all Bush years, basically, right? You get to 2009, it cuts in half. It's 5,000, then 4,000, then 4,000, then 4,600. That's Obama's first term. You get to 2013, it goes back up to 9,800, then 20,200, 17,500, and then 16,393.
Sounds surreal.
2016, it just goes back up. And then in 2017, it was 13,000. And then 2018, it was 3,000. 2019, it was 2,300. And 2020 was 902. It's no matter what, even the lowest number of 902 civilian deaths is a lot.
Yeah, it's unacceptable. 90% of deaths in American wars are civilians.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're not our citizens, which of course I'm happy about, but also if it was, we'd have a different perspective on it.
Yeah, I think a human's a human, and none of them. They're not rebels. They're living in their house, going to their mosques, going to their churches, going to the market. They're just living their lives like us. They're just like us, just in a different part of the world, and they have nothing to do with it. Nothing. But they don't stand a chance against the American imperialist war machine.
Yeah. So something I wanted to say tonight, and I'll probably say it multiple times, is that we're not here to humanize the cost of war. I don't want to try to humanize the cost of war or all the people who have died in any of these wars, because that's the default. These are all humans, right? What we do in America, especially, but all countries who have to go to war, and all soldiers who have to go fight in it, they dehumanized the targets.
I think they have to. Or how do you kill someone who's just like you?
Right.
And that's the problem.
Yeah, I think it's a little more thought-provoking when you point that out. Not just look at it that way, because it really is what it is, right? We do by default instantly dehumanize targets.
There are enemies immediately, because the wealthy war machine wants to send the poor soldiers to go fight their wars for them over land, to oppress, to cause violence, to cause disruption and chaos, to keep things destabilized for our market, for resources. There is a picture that has been on the Apple iPad that I use, and I have not changed my screenshot in like 3 years. It's a very, very famous photo, and it's men of all colors, of all ages, who have come back from the Vietnam War, and they're marching with signs, "We will not fight a rich man's war ever again." I fucking love that picture. It says so much. And I do know what the war budget is about to be for 2022. 704 billion to 708 billion. We're not sure yet. Is what it's going to be. So Biden's not changing anything. It's the same. It's the same.
And
go ahead.
Remember what happened last time, like for our military budget last year, Trump proposed said military budget. The Senate gave him more than what he asked for.
Yeah.
So could always be more. Could always be more. Yeah, because what did we end up with last year? 730,000 billion? 730
yeah,
billion?
billion. Yes.
Yeah. Something like that.
Right. You guys know what it would cost to end homelessness in this country? We have over 100 million homelessness in this country. It would take, to end homelessness, it would cost a $20 billion to eliminate homelessness in the United States of America. Not
one
per year.
time payment.
One-time payment, an investment, if you will. And we could see the homelessness permanently eliminated for a one-time, investment in U.S. For 1/3 of 1 month of the U.S. military budget. That's insane by itself.
Did you, by chance, watch Second Thought's video today that he just came
out? Yeah, I love that channel.
Great.
It's so great.
I just recently found it. I'm very sad that I haven't found it before.
So good. And all the collabs he does, I sub to all of them and enjoy their content too. Yeah.
It's fantastic. If you guys don't know Second Thought.
Yes.
That's like,
he is a Marxist.
Huh?
And so educated. He is a Marxist and very educated.
Yeah. Really one of the best like socialist friendly channels that is out there.
Right. It's all information. It's just the education of it. And I love that. I love that. I did want to say one other thing before I forget that. That one-time investment would pay for itself in 7 years. 7 years is nothing. And I would say that's good for capitalism. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah,
if it would pay for itself in 7 years, that's a huge return and quick.
So if you're wondering, by chance, if you are wondering how that would pay for itself, it's because we spend money on homelessness each year, right? In government spending. So if we solve it instead of, I don't want to say exacerbate it, though the way that we handle it does exacerbate it.
Well, the nation gives $3 billion a year to it.
Yeah. So if we just spend enough to solve the problem,
right? We're just putting band-aids.
Stop paying for band-aids, right?
Yeah, they're getting expensive.
Yeah. So this whole thing is hard for me tonight because every bullet point that I have, we could pretty much make a whole night of.
I'm sure.
It just goes on and on. But I have a few more numbers and interesting things for you all here. So let me move my light a little bit. Okay. Other numbers for you guys. I went back to, I forgot to say my quote I wanted to start the night with. The U.S. is, in quotes, the greatest purveyor of violence in the world today. Yeah. Who said that?
Second Thought.
Martin Luther King Jr.
Oh, well, yeah, that too.
Yes.
Second Thought said
yes, but yes. Same video.
I have a dog.
But yeah.
Sorry, I'm wrestling
to get
comfortable with him not leaving me. Okay, you're fine. Lay back down.
So numbers for you guys all to take into your sweet ape brains. Um, monetary cost for World War One is was $32 billion, or 52% of the gross national product at the time. And the cost of the war was in pounds, for Europe, was one
Goodness.
trillion 90,381,600,000 pounds in today's currency. Also, fun facts about World War One: the total U.S. The total value of U.S. exports grew from 2.4 billion in 1913 to 6.2 billion in 1917. Most of that went to major Allied powers like Great Britain, France, and Russia, which scrambled to secure American cotton, wheat, brass, rubber, automobiles, machinery, and thousands of other raw and finished goods. World War One took the U.S. out of a recession, and the Second World War took it out of a depression, and into a 44-month economic boom.
You too.
Yeah, before the war, America had been a debtor nation. After the war, it became a lender, especially to Latin America. U.S. exports to Europe increased as those countries geared up for war. So it really, I have a friend at work who's a history buff, and like as soon as I started talking about what the story was tonight, the way he said it, which this helps confirm it, obviously, but like we have a war-based economy. And he's like, and that started in World War One. And you can see this, like it really boomed our economy. And he said World War II just solidified it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
No, it did. We became
very true.
I do want to correct myself. I did make a mistake. I said
Okay.
over 100 million. I have like all these papers in front of me, so many numbers, things that there's no way we can even get to. I said 100 million. I meant a million. So sorry. That needs to be corrected. That's a huge mistake. So I'm not perfect. I'm human. It happens. But I'm glad that's why you guys are here in the chat. That's why you guys are here. That's the most important thing, is to keep us honest and to make sure to be like, nope, that doesn't sound right, because you know, smoke a lot of pot. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. No, it's not. It's not that. It was a mistake. It was an absolute mistake. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. Always call us out. Always. I actually would expect nothing less from this group.
Yeah, I mean, at least call Christy out. You know, you guys.
Yeah, you can call me out anytime. If you guys want some reading things, something that you guys could read on to be more informed, The Guardian has an article by Arjun, Arjun Sethi, Sethi, and it was January 23rd, 2013 too. But it's military contracting, our new era of corporate mercenary. And then you go to another publication. Oh, come on, I can't get it out of my. There we go. And this is from The Independent, and this was August 10th, 2007, by Jeremy Scahill. The Mercenary Revolution. Flush with profits from the Iraq War, military contractors see a world of business opportunities. So we're seeing a trend here. And then you get to, what's the number one death around the world? Hunger. That's UN warns number of people starving to death could double amid pandemic. This was May 5th, 2020. Every year, around 9 million people die of hunger, according to the International Relief Agency, Mercy Corps. That's more than the death toll of AIDS, malaria, and tuberculosis combined. Nevertheless, convincing countries, many of which are battling massive challenges at home, to increase spending on their foreign aid during this crisis will be a very big challenge. However, I do believe that the cost of doing nothing will be higher. If money is the only thing standing in the way, there needs to be people to step up. I don't get that. And it's not that there isn't enough food. I hate that talking point. There's too many people, there's not enough food. No, we have a distribution problem.
Yeah.
I can grammar, I promise.
It's closer to where we have too much food.
Well, yes, and 40% of food gets thrown out in this country. And corporations that make this food package it, if the oranges aren't orange enough or the banana's not curved enough, it gets thrown in garbages, and bleach gets poured on it. So the homeless and hungry can't eat it. That is, I found that out, I just burst into tears. I said, how fucking dare you?
We've watched so many of the same videos this past week.
We do. I treat you well, Danielson. Yes, it's heartbreaking. The numbers on that are heartbreaking. And if you think this doesn't have to do with war, you're right. It has to do with a lot of things, but war is in there. When we cause destabilizing countries.
In a nutshell, what Christy is saying is that, I mean, this is connected because I've already said this, we are a war economy, right? If we need the economy to boom, we go to war, right? If we need resources, we find a way to get them, but we find a forceful way to get those resources. War is fought over just three things. I think I narrowed it down to the last 2 weeks. And I've given this a lot of thought, and I would love people to add to this if you think you can, but I think it boils down to these like three things. One is land. One is money, and I think land just kind of boils down to money anyways, but basically power. So it's power, which is land and money.
Oil.
And also sometimes sex.
Yeah, unfortunately, of young girls at gates, I'm calling you out.
Yeah.
Put that out there.
That too.
I hope they find something in his phone and just put him away forever.
Yeah.
Or at least whatever his sentence is. You can't. I mean, a regular person would never get away with that. Not never. And if they do, shame on them.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's side note. I'm sure people heard about it.
Yes, the Met Gates thing. I mean, I've been mostly trying to stay away from it because it's.
Yeah, I just needed to be informed. I saw it everywhere, and I'm like, okay, let me read about it instead of hearing it fed to me first. Yeah, and I was just like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, I haven't touched anything on it this week, but last week I checked out.
Yeah, and then you were like, ugh, I feel like I need to take a shower.
Yeah, I mean, mostly. It was like, another one of these.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Like, one, not interested. Two, yes, disgusted, but not interested in looking into that disgust. I have other things to be disgusted about.
That can actually help.
Yeah. This should be pointed out.
Informed by reading that.
It's just
I wasn't informed by reading it. I didn't gain things that would elevate my knowledge. It just was
just angry.
Outrage. And I can't say it's social media like created outrage. He did these things, so I'm outraged. I have daughters. No, you guys would never see me again. I'm just saying. No. Bean would take my place. He will sit right here and just look cute. Because that's what he does.
He's the only one who could take your place.
Yeah.
There'd be no one else. All right. So I have another thing to share. And actually, I think I'm going to show this graph. Can you make sure that I can screen share real quick, Nacha, of the witnesses? So the next thing that I want to share with you guys is it is a long graph of World War I, World War II, and the 21st Century War. World and it's pretty fantastic. Did you see this graph already? This nice long one.
Oh yes,
Yeah. It's
America's like way up at the top.
Yeah. So I'm going to do this. Share. Thank you, Nacha. All right. Hopefully you guys can see the cost of U.S. wars now and then. This is really wonderful. I don't want to. I'm not going to go through the whole thing here, because it's so long. But I would like to share the link as soon as I get off of screen share.
No, I haven't seen this one.
You
I thought you
haven't?
were talking about the graph that has America, like the most other country and their wars stops, and America just keeps going. It's like
Yeah, I've seen that one
3
too.
times as high as the other country that has done the most wars. And I can't even remember it because I was just like, whoa.
Yeah, no, and I've seen probably the same one that you're talking about, but this one's very, I don't know, aesthetic and very easy to read. Like just looking.
Yeah, you can see in 1945, that's 40% almost.
Yeah.
Well, I remember my papa telling me stories about their family and everyone's family. And I've also read these stories too of people taking the grills off their car to donate them for military because they needed all the metal they could get because we didn't have the money for this war. People went without for their country, and
we didn't use copper and pennies for a while.
There were no balloons. They're gone. Look it up. Balloon famine of 1945 is bananas. One of my favorite Christmas movies, Holiday Inn with Bing Crosby.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's super white, but I just love it. I grew up with it. No, it is. There's like only white people and then the black people that work for them. It's as a grown up, I watch it like, what the hell? But I do enjoy the movie at Christmas time. And they had balloons in one of their scenes. They had to travel around the country and seek out individual people that had a balloon or two. It was insane, just for the film.
That's crazy.
Yes. A little fun fact that has no knowledge behind it.
Yeah.
Wow.
So go through this real quick. I mean, we got the cost, we got the defense spending as a percentage of the GDP at peak of war, the number of military personnel deployed, and the number of U.S. military casualties in action, civilian and military deaths.
I wish they added other countries too.
Really interesting. The income tax for the wealthy during the war.
Oh, look at that.
Look at this.
Look at
that. It increases every time, which is good.
What?
Oops. Maybe it doesn't.
I mean, Bush.
Yeah. Interesting, huh?
Wow.
Also Obama. So, number of Americans who filed a federal income tax return by war's end. Income tax. It goes on and on. Impacts of financing. This was interesting. The amounts of ammunition, the rifles and carbines, the tons of steel, the aircrafts, the tanks and armored vehicles. So this is a wonderful graph.
Yes, it is.
Very explanatory.
You
Very
make me feel like
user-friendly.
shouting, "We're number one! We're number one!"
Right?
No.
Um, yeah. So
Yeah, I detest war.
it's insane how much we spend on war. I haven't even gotten to the
Right?
meat
Oh,
of anything that I really wanted to get to.
my fault.
We sent this. It's not your fault. It's
Oh,
it's
my fault.
it's the plethora of information that we have to sift through.
I mean,
But
almost 100 years, not almost 100 years.
yeah, more. I mean,
1919 was where he started in that graph, so I just knew that. But yeah,
that's just where I decided to like start off.
right.
You can go back to the Civil War, the American Revolution. Yes, these numbers are much
The
lower.
Trail
But
of Tears,
spent money.
war crimes.
Yeah. Other things I wanted to get to. So we get to World War II. We use the atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And for the next few decades, we do nuclear testing. For those of you who don't know, who watch our channel, if you don't know about atomic veterans, you should look up on YouTube atomic veterans. It is very enlightening and it is very disturbing in a very sad sense. Their stories are quite atomic veterans.
Okay.
This is tied to the story that Abby Martin did a few years back on when we tested nuclear weapons on our own men. There are some pretty interesting interviews with them, and I listened to a few of them. They have quite the experience to share, and there were things in these stories like they were within a mile or two of the nuclear blast, and as the countdown starts, from like 59 seconds, it gets down to 9, and then boom. And we were told to cover our eyes with our arms, squat down, and like when they like look like the bright is so intense that multiple of them said that they could see
through their arms,
the bones and their partner's backs. They could see the blood vessels in their hands. They could see through their arms. Like it's intense, and it was kind of neat and sad to even hear one of the veterans say that it was one of the like most interesting things that I've ever seen in my life. I mean, like, you're gonna hate me when I say this, but it was beautiful, and like he like choked on the words as he said it, because the colors are quite magnificent, but what they're doing what's actually happening is traumatic and devastating, and honestly one of the worst things we've done as a nation is the nuclear tests that we've done at Bikini Atoll and Nevada and other places. It's really, I wanted to have more tonight on these stories because of the tumors and the birth defects that come from the radiation that they were just put into. These these troops were just used as guinea pigs. And when they were done, no matter what they saw and what had happened to them, when they got back, they were told directly by our government and their superior officers that don't tell anyone what you saw. Don't tell your wife, don't tell your mother, don't tell your friends, don't tell your siblings. Don't talk about it to the people you went to war with. If you do, it is a $10,000 fine and or 10 years in a federal prison. That is that. Do not speak of what you saw. We will get you for treason. You will be executed. That's it. So they were silenced for at least like 50 years. And they complied for the most part. And then when, I mean, this is no surprise if you understand that the U.S. is an empire and a war economy, it comes to no surprise that when they started to bring it up because of the negative health effects that they got because of this, and they needed compensation.
Right.
I would like to remind you, for anyone who's watching who just like, compensation, you served. Compensation, because if you don't get compensation, especially in our economy, when you don't get free health insurance, you can lose your house, which veterans do.
Yeah.
You can lose your family. You can lose everything because of debt. And when it's not your fault because you are just following orders of the greatest country in the world, so we say, we're supposed to honor our vets more than anything. And though I disagree with a lot of the things that our country does in the name of democracy or whatever excuse they want to
Freedom
use.
missiles.
Yeah.
Democracy bombs are my favorite.
The people that we brainwash to go do the shit we ask them to do, whether it's stand in nuclear blast, go kill civilians, go to kill terrorists, that we've helped create, and in so many cases,
absolutely,
like they come back with trauma, they come back with tumors, they come back with radiation. It's just so many things. We need to pay for the damage done, not just in other countries, because that is also included. This is the cost of war. The cost of war is paying for those who we damaged to go fight for us, pay for damages done abroad that were not necessary, at the very least. If we're the good guys, you pay for what you break, right?
You break it, you buy.
Right?
Yes.
If when we're a war economy, the cost of war also comes down to, look, yes, I get it. Let me get the counter argument out of the way first. We spend so much on our military to keep all of our allies free to run all their socialist programs and have their nationalized health care and their minimum wage higher, because we take care. We're the cops of the world, so everyone else doesn't have to be. So if that's true, when do we get to catch up? When do we get those benefits? When is enough for us to cut down on spending for us? The cost of war is giving everything else up that everyone else has so we can go play good guy everywhere. The cost of war is our homeless population, the cost of living, and so many other countries hating
Why we can't have
US
nice.
military for our actions.
Yeah, I agree. If we
That's
took
us.
the budget, that $700 billion budget, and let's just say that we took 330 away from it to give our nation Medicare for all, we would still have over 100 billion more than China spends and 300 billion more
than Russia.
So let's just think about that. I don't know. It's, you know, we're bringing the troops back from Afghanistan, and I'm all for it. I really am. They're not leaving though, because we have so many private contractors there, and theirs was signed after the May whatever deadline. They signed new contracts saying they would stay years later, so it's their own fault. However, if you don't stay as a private contractor, those private contractors who bidded on the contracts are going to be super pissed because they're going to lose out on money, and that's not acceptable either in a capitalist economy. So there's a lot to think about, man.
There is more to think about than we even talk about every week, right? We are a war economy. We are.
Yes.
So that means if we end these wars, if we cut the military budget in half, people need jobs.
Absolutely.
People need jobs. We have created a war economy, which means if we backtrack, we have an unemployment problem. That's our fault.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's our fault and that's a problem doesn't mean you don't find a solution, though.
No.
Pointing out that there's a problem doesn't mean, that's a problem. Wah, wah, that's it. Guess we have to stick with the system. That's not how anything works.
No.
How anything works. We can cut it in half. We can just stop souping up the military for a couple of years, cut the budget in half, pay people who need to be paid, just keep up on maintenance, and put the rest into our economy.
I agree.
And it would help us. It would help so many people.
Education. Oh, there's so many things we could do.
And healthcare.
With that. Yeah. Oh, healthcare is number one.
Infrastructure. Any of it. Do one at a time.
I agree. And do them right.
It's $750 billion.
I know. I was like, wait. When you think of it that way, it blows your fucking mind. We will never see that money ever. It's getting blown up.
What blows my mind more than that, because I'm used to hearing numbers that kind of blow my mind, right? I'm used to looking at astronomy and seeing distances and sizes that blow my mind.
Yes.
What really blows my mind are the comparisons. How many suns of our suns we can fit in a Blue Giant? How much we can pay for at home, taking care of our economy and the people in it, if we got out of every foreign country. We wouldn't need a fucking wall at the Mexican border. We could just militarize every fucking part of our border. Right. If we want to actually defend our country,
yes.
Holy shit. Holy fucking shit. Could we defend our country if we just brought it all?
Better than any other nation, for sure.
And it would be so much greener if you think about it, because we don't have to travel across the world to do it. We could just stay home and fucking defend our country.
That's how
we could use all the troops, but we wouldn't need to. We're like, we could. I'm just going to say it as a fact, and someone can try to prove me wrong. I'm not going to research it. I'll debate anyone on this. You take 10% of our military budget and You use that for our military at home, whatever 10% pays for. Cut the rest, cut all of it.
Juice.
And that would defend our country because everyone else, the goddamn country, owns a fucking gun.
I just about.
The rest is homegrown
I
military.
think that's what the Second Amendment meant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
10%. So 70 billion to 80 billion for a military to defend our home.
Yeah, this nation.
The rest is homegrown.
Never. They're too terrified of the commies.
Right. But I don't think anyone would say someone would come here and fuck with us.
Oh, never.
Because no, even if you took away our military, like, yeah, we might have to worry about some bombs, but no one's going to fucking invade the U.S.
Everybody has a gun.
Not even North Korea. You give them 3 nukes.
They can't.
He's like, I don't know.
They
They'll
can't
just get back on one of those boats and come kill us.
one
Like-
vote. Good luck.
Right?
You be political prisoners for the rest of your life in Guantanamo. Don't do it.
Yeah, don't do it. Like we could stop spending on our military for the next probably 25 years. That sounds crazy. I'm going off the top of my head and being facetious on purpose. 25 years. Look at Cuba under their embargo.
Costa Rica doesn't even have military. They have a national guard to protect their nation.
Cuba has some of the
They
best
believe in defense. Same with Cuba. Yes, they have a defense.
on the planet because they just work with what they have. Look at what we have and what we can do over the next 25 years with it in a dystopian world. We'd be a superpower for a while. Yeah. We're fine. We're fine. If you don't think so, we're too big. We're too broad is the thing. We have almost 900 military bases that we know about.
We have over 1,000 military bases that we know about, and we have a bunch of lily pad bases. Don't know what those are? Give them a Google. We have tons of those. Tons of those.
And they
don't have to be reported because they can move at any time. Not anytime, it would take a while to pack them up, but they can also be moved. It's I'm
hoping that 1 to 5 people are watching this who don't agree with Christy and I, because the only thing that I want you to understand is that we don't need it.
Right.
What we do need is we need a healthcare system that is free at the point of service, not because everyone's entitled to it, but just because it would save lives.
And it would save over $300 million at the end of the year. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry, every year, but starting in a few years, it'll take a little while, but it will be every year for the medical world because of what goes in through subsidies and people together ends up being over $300 billion less than what we would spend under a Medicare for all system. And I do want to add, we are the only we're number 1 in this category. We're the only developed nation who doesn't offer healthcare free of service for their citizens, or has some sort of healthcare for all of their citizens. And there are countries that are not developed who offer this to all of their citizens. So shameful.
Even if we did pay more for that system, we would pay less than what we do for killing people. We could save lives over taking lives. And remember the numbers we gave you. These are found on government websites. We kill more civilians than anyone else. And then we wonder why terrorists hate us.
Imagine if another country came into America. Just imagine that. If another country, pick one,
Yeah.
invaded America and killed our family.
What would you do?
Right. When you want some sort of justice, well, what if you can't get any without throwing rocks? Well, you're gonna throw rocks. That's what you're gonna do. You can do
Yeah,
whatever you have to do to get their
whatever
attention.
you have to do.
You're gonna be so heartbroken. You're not gonna care if you die. Like, it wouldn't matter if your whole family's gone. Honestly, you would feel so alone. And I'm not saying you should go kill yourself. Don't ever think that I would ever say that. I'm just
No.
saying if I lost my whole family because another country, for any reason, but especially if foreign invaders came and did that, I would probably be on the team that they call radicalist because I would not be okay with it.
If a foreign country came to your town and killed people you knew,
Mm-hmm.
you would want to get back at that country. Think of 9/11. We
What?
do that.
Exactly.
We do that all over the map.
20 years war because of 9/11. Imagine what would happen if they invaded.
Yeah, and it's justified to us because we dehumanize the people that we terrorize.
Yeah, they're peasants. They don't matter.
We say that they're sympathizers.
Right?
For those who hate
Insurgent.
us.
Insert. You want to get her? Okay, go get her.
You need to change your perspective for just a moment,
I agree.
and it all makes sense that we don't need it. We don't need this military budget. We don't need the cost of war to be what it is. And reputation and human cost and monetary cost and moral cost.
Mm.
We just don't need it. It's so plain and clear. We can do another cost of war thing like at least every year. Maybe we
Yeah, I
should,
think it's important.
because we can go on and on. I want to look through my little list real quick. The cost of a soldier was something kind of neat. I'll pull that up. Cost of a soldier in World War II was $170 per soldier. The Vietnam conflict war was $1,112. So it grew almost 10 times. And then it grew by 100 times for current operations from World War II. It's $17,472 per person, per soldier. And this is from the Department of Defense. And again, we have military contractors. And private. And we hire military contractors. If you
Their
don't,
deaths aren't even counted.
not always, but they are absolutely counted separately if they
Right.
are counted.
They're not part of the U.S. government or the U.S. soldiers or the U.S. military.
The funny thing about that, when they're counted as just contractors, it makes them feel like they were just civilians or people who were just going there to build. They don't tell you what those contractors do.
Mm.
They're just all lumped under contractors, and it makes the bad guys look more like bad guys because we don't understand that most of the time, with emphasis on the most, these are military contractors, and it's so easy to look up. And we still pay for these people. This is part of the reason why we do not let the international criminal courts into the U.S. is because they would absolutely want to arrest and try our military contractors who don't play by the rules, and we fund, but that's not the U.S. military. They just do what we ask because we're not allowed. It's disgusting. It's bending the rules of which we help to make just so we don't have to follow them and we can stay in control as a superpower. And the only reason we conflict with fucking like China and Russia is so we can ramp up worries, so we can spend more on war, so we can build up our economy, because that's what it's built on. If we're not using weapons, we're selling weapons for other countries to use, like Saudi Arabia, and the war on Yemen, and to Israel to oppress the Palestinian population. It's we supply them with weapons, and we help drop those weapons.
Yeah, we give Israel $8 million a day and tax
$8 million.
our tax money of this country. We give a foreign government $8 million of taxpayer money every year. Every day.
Yeah, that's just one. And in 2018, we sold Saudi Arabia, their government, $14.5 billion of arms. And just today, I saw we're giving like a fighter jet to France. That was one of the contracts that was like today. Just all over the world. It's if you try to remind yourself what these weapons are used for that we build our economy on, I feel like it has to make you question, do we have a good economy? Is it worth building our economy on? Some people just may say yes. Say what?
Or should we change it?
Yeah.
The whole economic system.
Yeah.
There are things that our generation and the generation that comes after us and the generation that comes after us are going to have to deal with. So we might as well deal with them now, so the people that are older than us get some of those benefits as well. I don't have to know them to, want better for them. And they are my fellow countrymen, but they're my fellow humans before. And no human should have to not go to the doctor because they can't afford it. And I know this from experience. It's awful. It's the worst thing. And to lose your house because of medical bills, or to go bankrupt because of medical bills, is unacceptable. That's just something we should just not stand for it anymore. It's going to, unfortunately, we know that it's not really democratic in this country when it comes to policies. Corporations, when they want policies to be changed or a new one to be passed, they have a 30% chance more than us as the whole the population, just corporations versus the citizens, to get that passed. That's scary. And Kamala Harris said today, not that I take her word for anything, but I do look into it, however, and she is spot on. She said the nation has been going to war for oil for a long time. Soon, very soon, we'll be going to war for water. That should terrify you. What nation are we going to destabilize to get their water? How many people are going to die because we're going to take their water? Now, I think water should be for all humans. Every color, every race, every religion or lack of religion. It doesn't matter. If we don't have water, we die. Right. It's not an option. Food and water are not an option. Housing should not be an option. Nobody needs McMansions, but if you bought it, whatever, it's yours. But homeless people also don't deserve to freeze to death or starve to death or have bleach poured over food in the garbage so that they don't eat it. Like, that's cruel and unusual. I would hope that if something happened to me and I ended up homeless for whatever reason, I've known people that just through a bad decision lost everything, and that's not fair. And there has to, we as a community of humans that live in the same nation need to care about each other enough to say we're over it. Let's make sure we build, for a homeless single person, they need a bedroom apartment, a small house, a tiny house, apartments. It doesn't matter. For families, they need enough rooms, obviously, for everyone. And there should be no reason that we don't build these non-luxury homes and make them affordable and also give them jobs. I think there should be jobs for everyone. But that's a whole nother story and a whole nother show.
Yes.
Yeah, huge
So,
topic, man.
so
I'm Freddie. Hi, I'm Freddie.
your
Nice to meet
friend.
you.
um, are you good to move on from this
I
topic?
am. I am.
Okay. Last thing I want to say on it is this is just our opinion, and our opinion matters as much as your representative cares.
Mm-hmm. Right. They don't.
Keep that in mind.
Right. Yeah, there's that. Okay, guys. I want to introduce you to a guy named Steven Donziger. Sorry, I can't get comfortable. He won a multi-billion-dollar judgment, actually the highest judgment ever before to be won against a multi-billion-dollar corporation. And this corporation happens to be Chevron in Ecuador. The company sued him in New York, and now he's under house arrest. So I have to tell you about that story because that sounds a little off, right? Like, he's an environmental lawyer. What did he do, right? That's my first thing is, well, I have to find out more about this because last August, during the second hottest year on record, while the fires in the Amazon rainforest were raging, the ice sheet in Greenland was melting, and Greta Thunberg was being greeted by many adoring crowds across the US. Something else happened that was of great relevance to the climate movement. An attorney who has been battling Chevron for more than a decade over environmental devastation in South America was put on house arrest. Few news outlets or any news outlets carried this. Independent ones did. So Lee Camp had him on to talk to him, and Democracy Now! Had him on to talk to him, and a few other independent, like The Intercept, ran the story. And there were a few that brought his name up in passing, but they didn't give the details, so it just sounds like he's guilty of something. And so I was a little bit confused. So I knew I needed to sit down and find out what was what. And so what I'm reading to you right now is actually from The Intercept. But don't worry, all of it checks out. Few news outlets covered the detention of Steven Donziger, who won a multi-billion-dollar judgment in Ecuador against Chevron over the massive contamination of the Lago Agrio region and has been fighting on behalf of the indigenous people and farmers there for more than 25 years. Good person, right? You would think. So on August 6th, Donziger left the Lower Manhattan courthouse unnoticed and boarded the one train home with an electronic monitoring device newly affixed to his ankle. Save for the occasional meeting with his lawyer or other court-sanctioned appointment, he has remained there ever since. He says, "I'm like a corporate political prisoner," Donziger told me as we sat in his living room recently. The attorney, who is 6'3", graying, silvering, and often used to be mistaken for New York Mayor Bill de Blasio. Oh, change your look. When he was able to walk the city streets, he was surprisingly stoic and resigned about his predicament. During my 2 visits to his apartment, he shared with his wife and his now 14-year-old son. But on this particular Wednesday, as the winter sunlight in his living room was dimming and the charger for his spare ankle bracelet battery flashed on a nearby shelf, his optimism about his epic battle against one of the biggest oil companies in the world seemed to be flagging. Quote, "They are trying to totally destroy me." Donziger is not exaggerating. As he was arguing the case against Chevron in Ecuador back in 2009, the company expressly said its long-term strategy was to demonize him. They have no problem saying it either. And since then, Chevron has continued its all-out assault on Donziger in what's become one of the most bitter and drawn-out cases in the history of environmental law. Chevron has hired a private investigator, many private investigators to track Donziger, created a publication to smear him, and put together a legal team of hundreds of lawyers from 60 different firms who have successfully pursued an extraordinary campaign against him. As a result, Donziger has been disbarred. He can't be a lawyer anymore. This is big. And his bank accounts have been frozen. He can't supply for his family anymore. He now has a lien on his apartment, faces exorbitant fines, and has been prohibited from earning money. You guys, in New York, here, like this is happening here. The battle happened in Ecuador. The oil spill happened there. Chevron wanted this court, the whole thing to go down there. Well, when Ecuador decided that they were at fault, they changed their mind. Well, this court went around to different countries to make sure that Ecuador got it right. Canada, a few others, France, they all agreed with Ecuador. The only judges who didn't were 2 or 3 here in the United States. And you can guess what kind of judges those are. And they're judges, not like a court deciding this. This is a judge. Yeah, I don't care. I really don't care. It's disgusting. Having a lien on his apartment and not being able to earn money. As of August, a court has seized his passport and put him on house arrest. Chevron, which has a market capitalization of $228 billion, has the funds to continue targeting Donziger for as long as they choose. In an emailed statement, Chevron wrote that, quote, any jurisdiction that observes the rule of law should find the fraudulent Ecuadorian judgment to be illegitimate and unenforceable, end quote. The statement also said that, quote, Chevron will continue to work to hold the perpetrators of this fraud accountable for their actions, including Stephen Donziger, called him out by name, who has committed a litany of corrupt and illegal acts related to Ecuadorian judicial fraud against Chevron. I'll get to that in a minute because that sounds horrible, right? Like fraud. Okay, wait, what's going on? The developments that led to Donziger confinement were, like much of the epic legal battle he's been engaged in for decades, highly unusual. The home confinement is his punishment for refusing a request to hand over his cell phone and computer with all of his clients' names and information on it. No, that's not how he would never work again before he got his license taken away from him. If he did that, he wouldn't. That's crazy. To hand over that is not something that's been it's something that's been asked of very, very few attorneys. To Donziger, who had already endured 19 days of depositions and given Chevron large portions of his case file, the request was beyond the pale, and he appealed it on the grounds that it would require him to violate his commitments to his clients and their confidentiality agreement. Still, Donziger said he would turn over the devices if he lost the appeal. But even though the underlying case was civil, this is civil court. We're talking misdemeanor. The federal court judge who has presided over the litigation between Chevron and Donziger since 2011, Louis A. Kaplan, go ahead and give him a look, drafted criminal contempt charges against him because he wouldn't hand over his client's information. In another legal peculiarity, in July, Kaplan, the judge, appointed a private law firm to prosecute Donziger after the Southern District of New York declined to do so, agreeing with Ecuador. A move that is virtually unprecedented. And Donziger's lawyer has pointed out the firm Kaplan chose, Seward and Kissel, has ties to Chevron. It's like a suckle. Okay, making the case even more extraordinary, the judge Kaplan bypassed the standard random assignment process and handpicked someone he knew well, U.S. District Judge Loretta Preska, and that's Preska, to oversee this case being prosecuted by the firm he chose. It was Preska who sentenced Donziger to home detention and ordered the seizure of his passport, even though Donziger had appeared in court on hundreds of previous occasions, on time. The tainted witness. Okay, this is the fraud. This is important. Despite Donziger's current predicament, the case against Chevron in Ecuador was a spectacular victory. The twisted legal saga began in 1993. I was in high school. I'm 44. So this has been going on for a long time. When Donziger and other attorneys filed a class action suit in New York against Texaco on behalf of more than 30,000 farmers and indigenous people in the Amazon over massive contamination from the country's oil drilling there. They did pump and dumps. They didn't clean up anything. They just left all the disaster there. Chevron, which bought Texaco in 2001, has insisted that Texaco cleaned up the area where it operated. Texaco cleaned up the area where it operated. So greasy. And that its former partner, the National Oil Company of Ecuador, was responsible for the remaining pollution. All the pollution is what they're saying. At Chevron's request, the legal proceedings over the Amazon, Chernobyl is what it's called by the indigenous and farmers there, were moved to Ecuador. So listen to that. At Chevron's request, the legal proceedings over this Amazon, Chernobyl, were moved to Ecuador. They wanted it there, where the courts were impartial and fair, as the oil company's attorney wrote in a filing at the time. The move to Ecuador, where the legal system does not involve juries, may also have appealed because it spared Chevron a jury trial. In any case, an Ecuadorian court ruled against Chevron in 2011 and ordered the company to pay $18 billion in compensation, an amount that was later reduced to $9.5 billion. Wah, wah. After years of struggling with the health and environment consequences of the oil extraction, the impoverished Amazon plaintiffs had won a historical judgment from one of the biggest corporations in the world. But Donziger and his clients never had a moment to savor their David over Goliath victory. Even though the ruling was subsequently upheld by the Ecuadorian Supreme Court, Chevron immediately made it clear that it would not be paying the judgment. Instead, Chevron moved its assets out of the country, making it impossible for the Ecuadorians to collect a cent. That year, Chevron filed a racketeer influenced and corrupt organizations, or RICO, suit against Donziger in New York City. Although the suit originally sought roughly $60 billion in damages, the civil trials involving monetary claims of more than $20 entitle a defendant to a jury. Chevron dropped the monetary claims 2 weeks before the trial so they wouldn't have to go in front of a jury. In its statement, Chevron wrote the company focused the RICO case on obtaining injunctive relief against the furtherance of Donziger's extortion scheme against the company, which is bullshit. Instead, that case was decided solely by Kaplan, the judge. Okay. Who ruled in 2014 that the Ecuadorian judgment against Chevron was invalid because it was obtained through egregious fraud. And that Donziger was guilty of racketeering. So, but racketeering, you have to, you can't, it's not a misdemeanor. So you have to choose, you can't do a RICO case and then call it a misdemeanor. So they're saying he is guilty of racketeering, extortion, wire fraud, money laundering, obstruction of justice, and witness tampering. The decision hinged on the testimony of an Ecuadorian judge named Alberto Guerra, who claimed that Donziger had bribed him during the original trial and that the decision against Chevron had been ghostwritten. Guerra, a controversial witness, Chevron had prepped him on more than 50 occasions. You wouldn't need to do that with a witness, would you? I'm just thinking, if they know their story, why would you need to prep them? 50 occasions before his testimony, paid him hundreds of thousands of dollars, and arranged for the judge and his family members to move to the United States with a generous monthly stipend that was 20 times the salary he received in Ecuador. That sounds like a fucking bribe to me. I'm sorry, but I'm just going to call a spade a spade. That sounds like a bribe to me. from Ecuador to the United States with a monthly stipend that was 20 times more than you made. How do you even say no? You're going to better your family. Of course you're going to say. The salary he received in Ecuador is where I left off. Okay. In 2015, when Guerra testified in an international arbitration proceeding, he admitted that he had lied. And changed the story multiple times. According to Chevron, Guerra's inaccuracies didn't change the thrust of his testimony. For his part, Judge Kaplan wrote that his court, quote, would have reached precisely the same result in this case, even without the testimony of Alberto Guerra. No, you don't have any broad charges then. In the statement, Chevron said that Guerra was relocated to the US for his safety and noted that the court found that the company's contracts with the Ecuadorian judge were proper and transparent. Well, let's see. Americans that are in danger, let's say a woman's in danger because her husband beats her all the time and she wants to get safe. Is anybody going to give her a monthly stipend that's 20 times more than what she makes and move her to a different part of the country? Not never. Not never. So lawyers for Donziger said that the changes in Guerra's testimony completely undetermined his original bribery allegations, which Donziger has constantly denied. In any case, that evidence emerged after the trial, and an appeals court declined to consider the new information and ruled against Donziger in 2016. Quote, he has effectively been convicted of bribery by the findings of a single judge in the case which bribery wasn't even the charge, end quote. Had Donziger been criminally charged with bribery, a jury would have assessed Guerra's credibility. Instead, the RICO case, which was a civil case, the decision about key witnesses came down to one person, Kaplan, the judge, who chose to believe him. That choice has set the stage for the legal losses Donziger has suffered since, according to some close watchers of this Chevron case. Quote, on the basis of Kaplan saying, I believe this witness, I find Donziger guilty of the crime of bribery of the judge on the basis that he's been destroyed. That is the pinnacle element of all the other claims against him. And if you take that one out, the rest of them, they're just not there, said Charles Nesson, an attorney at Harvard Law School professor. He has effectively been convicted of bribery by the finding of a single judge in the case which the bribery wasn't even the charge, Nesson said of Donziger. I teach evidence that you have to prove what you assert beyond a shadow of a doubt, and the proof in this case is the thinnest. Nesson, who represented Daniel Ellsberg in the Pentagon Papers, which, oh yes, I was obsessed with them for a few years back. The Pentagon Papers case and the plaintiffs in the suit of W.R. Grace featured in the book and film A Civil Action, teaches Donziger's case in his fair trial course, using it as an example of a decidedly unfair trial. Quote, Donziger epitomizes a person in asymmetric civil litigation who can now be denied a fair trial, he explains to his students. Nesson is one of the several legal scholars who have opined that Kaplan has a soft spot for Chevron, which the judge once described as, quote, a company of considerable importance to our economy that employs thousands all over the world, that supplies a group of commodities, gasoline, heating oil, other fuels, and lubricants on which every one of us depends every single day, end quote. So his mind was made up before he even went into this. He was, I already know how I feel. You can't change my mind.
Did you say lubricants?
Yeah, I did. Well, we do all use that.
Just making sure you knew that I was paying attention.
Yeah, you were paying attention. You're like, wait, I know that word. In contrast, the judge has exhibited antipathy for Donziger, according to his former lawyer, John Kecker, who saw the case as a Dickensian farce in which Chevron is using its limitless resources to crush defendants and win this case through might rather than merit. Kecker withdrew from the case in 2013 after noting that Chevron will file any motion, however meritless, in the hope that the court will use it to hurt Donziger. Donziger's current prohibition from working, traveling, earning money, and leaving his home shows how successful Chevron's strategy has been. But even as his fate hangs in the balance, Donziger's case matters far beyond the life of just one lawyer. It should be nothing short of terrifying for any activist challenging corporate power and the oil industry in the US, said Paul Pazimino, Associate Director of Amazon Watch, an organization devoted to the protection of the rainforest and indigenous people in the Amazon basin. Quote, they made it clear that there's no amount of money that's too much to spend on this case, he said of Chevron. Quote, they will stop at nothing. The Chevron case may be the most devastating for the plaintiffs in the Amazon, who never received their judgment despite being left with hundreds of unlined waste pits. Ugh. Oh gosh, and contaminated water and soil from millions of gallons of spilled crude oil. It ends up being billions, actually, when you go into reading the devastation of this area. Crude oil and billions of gallons of dumped toxic waste. So that's what I'm talking about. Everything that's happened to Donziger is small potatoes compared to the fact that Kaplan has rendered the damage the company actually did as totally irrelevant. But the latest twists and turns in the Chevron case may be particularly bad news for climate activists. A mere 20 companies are responsible for a third of greenhouse gases emitted in modern era. Chevron ranks second only to Saudi Aramco. That's terrifying. And that's Saudi Aramco. Sorry, it's not here. I've never seen it before. Aramco. That's just, one among them. And it's increasingly clear that addressing the climate crisis will require confronting these mega emitters whose resources for litigation dwarf that of any individual anywhere. Making Chevron and other companies clean up the messes created by their oil production will speed the transition away from fossil fuels, according to Rex Whaler, an environmental advocate who co-founded Greenpeace International and directed the original Greenpeace Foundation. Quote, if hydrocarbon companies are forced to pay for the true cost of their product, which include these environmental costs, it will make the alternative energy system more competitive. Ding, 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 ding. Accordingly, Whaler feels that the climate movement should focus on Chevron's case. I agree. And Donziger's legal battle. Quote, one of the most effective things climate activists can do right now to change the system would be to not let Chevron get away with polluting these countries, whether Ecuador, Nigeria, or anywhere, said Whaler. While some human rights and environmental advocates have tried to call attention to Donziger's case and Chevron's bullying of him, Whaler felt that the outcry should be louder, and I do too. I just don't understand why this isn't on. This could happen to anyone, and you can't compete. I don't have hundreds of billions of dollars. I don't. And he doesn't either. He's an environmental attorney. They don't make the big bucks. They just don't. He didn't get into it because he wanted to. He lives in a small apartment in New York, which is expensive to live in. That's why it's a small apartment. After seeing what's happened to Donziger and some of his former allies, whom Chevron has gone after non-party conspirators, people may be afraid to stand up to the company. Donziger himself is living in fear. There is no set punishment when a judge files for criminal contempt of court. So he spends his days worrying over what will happen to him next. It's scary, he told me. I don't know what they're thinking. But Whaler pointed out that Chevron, which could still be forced to pay the multi-billion-dollar judgment by courts in other countries, is also afraid. Quote, they are afraid of the precedent. Not only is Chevron afraid, the entire extraction industry is afraid of the precedent this said Whaler. They do not want to be held responsible for the pollution in their industry. Ding, 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 ding. It's gosh darn doggone terrifying that this is happening to an American citizen in the United States.
Yeah, this is as important as like Chelsea Manning kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah, Assange. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's just as important. Yes.
It's insane.
Yeah, because he's a truth teller. He wants to help the people who are suffering from corporations pollution. That's it. He's not going after anyone personally. He's actually advocating for people who need advocates. And they took he's disbarred, guys. As of right now, It's been over 600 days. Okay, I wanted to add to this. This is a misdemeanor. It holds an 80-day maximum sentence in jail. Not even prison, just jail, regular jail. He served that 6 times over and then some.
Yeah.
So I don't understand. I really don't get it. It can only be corruption.
Yeah. And
Kaplan, judge. Ugh.
yeah, if they can keep him on that chain and wait and see, to see if he breaks in order or something like that, so they can get him on something else, then it's a win.
It's a win. Yep.
And we have a criminal justice system that's just ready and willing to punish instead of treat problem.
No, you're right.
Then
about the punishment.
That's what we get, and that's why he has justification to be worried. So
he's terrified. How could you not be? They won't allow him to earn money. He has a wife and a teenager. Are you kidding me? They're expensive. How cruel. And I thought that our court system was against cruel and unusual punishment. Are they really? Because if you look through history, I can find unlimited cases where they were not against cruel and unusual punishment. This is one current today that all of us need to be sharing with people, letting them know. Do you know who Steven Donziger is? And that's Steven, Steven Donziger, Donzinger. I had to look away and think.
Nice.
And Steven Donziger. And you can read about all the work he's done. You don't have to stay with this case. Just look at all the work he's done. And then look at the judge and the stuff he's done and who he's been behind. And it's just blatantly obvious. So I spent a lot of time this week looking into the individual people involved. And so that's my opinion of that. I read you the facts of the story and then I told you my opinion. So that's kind of how I do it. I think that he should be time served. Drop it. Let him get his legal license again. Even if he has to renew it or something. You can't take away someone's livelihood because you don't like that they won a court judgment against you.
If you have enough money, you can.
The bourgeoisie need a smackdown.
They need a smackdown?
Proletariat for life.
So, yeah, well, I'm glad we ended on a happy story.
I'm sorry. We did have some guests that hang out with us every week that were very excited to hear this talked about. And they knew who he was. And I'm so proud of you guys. You guys are awesome. I'm so glad you guys are here with us every week because Nicholas. Hi. I look down and I see Nicholas. I haven't seen you in a long time. Sorry. I was like, oh, squirrel. Like my tail. I hang out with a dog too much. He's my best friend, okay?
Oh, he's a good dog.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far. He's my good dog. He's not necessarily good. He's not bad. He just doesn't like anybody but me.
He can't help it.
No, he can't.
He's around the best. He needs the best all the time.
All the time. And he likes to sit next to me and like put his belly against me. So his paws, his one back and one front go under me and one front and one back go over me. So he does the under over and I can't move. And he's so hot. He's like 100 and something degrees and it's Florida. So I'm always like trying to shove the blanket in between us and he goes, Arr! I know that shouldn't make me laugh. I should be more training, but it's so funny because he's 17 pounds. What is he gonna do? But he's very beefy. He has lots of muscles.
Yeah.
He's little. Yeah.
should
So
just
that
start.
at least that's a good ending because it's about puppies. Everyone loves puppies. You don't love
Yeah.
them. I mean, you don't have to own one, but
No.
I never wanted to own one. There's so much work, but I'm in it for his
You're
life.
worth it. You're worth it.
I agree. I've had way more benefits since I've had
Yeah?
him. Yes.
There you
Just the
go.
companionship. I'm home a lot by myself, but I have something that I have to do always. I go on 4 to 5 walks every day. I've been counting my steps on one of those apps, and so it's pretty awesome. I'm like, whoa, I didn't know.
There you go.
Yeah, and that's
That's
really
awesome.
good for the spine that I came to the planet with. So walking does help. It might not feel good, especially the first walk of the morning, but he still has to go. So it's my responsibility, and it has helped with mobility. It will be hot soon, so I'll probably talk different about it. Like, so like this won't be. It will be up here in some sort of thing. Because it's instantly, like right now, I would need a blanket.
Yeah.
Not that it's cold outside, but we have the air on at 72. Which is not good for the planet. I'm a horrible person. I should be ashamed of myself.
Yeah, you should probably just sweat and die.
How dare me while people are sweating other places. No, I don't think that. I mean, it's off right now. It'll take another 20 minutes before it turns back on. It's cool at nights here. It's like 72 outside right now, which I know for most people isn't cool, but it's cool for Florida. When you walk outside at like 2 a.m. when I take Beanie on his last walk, I need a sweater. I know that sounds ridiculous. And because I come from the Midwest, that sounds ridiculous also to me. But it is, I've been down here since I was 11.
I still pack a jacket when I go down to Florida. I still get cold.
Cold.
I don't have any.
Yeah, you don't
have any insulation.
No. No, you're a lean bean, a tall lean bean.
Yep, lean bean.
Yeah. I'm an average, not so lean bean. Oh, remember I told you I lost 12 pounds when I was really ill?
Yeah. Yes.
Put 6.5 back on. So I'm really trying. We ordered pizza the other day and I had a slice. I was so full. I'm like, so disappointed in myself. But the next day I had
for the next 6 days.
No. Oh, I'm pushing things around and your beautiful face disappeared. There it is. Gorgeous.
My yellow, pink, and blue face.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, Mac has a new light.
Wonder if you noticed.
Been playing with it.
Yeah. All right. Well, this lean bean has to go to bed. So thank you all for listening to us for such a long time. This was very nice to have a live show. I'm sorry we missed it last week. We will be back with another live show next week. No, it's not your fault.
I'll take the blame.
But yeah, we're excited to come back next week. Do you know what we're covering?
I will let you know tomorrow or the next day for sure. There's so many things that are going on right now.
There are so many things.
So many things. And there's a few things that I have my eye on, but I couldn't bring them to you right now. And once I read about them, I might be like, ugh, never mind. So yeah, I would like to soon, within the next month or two, talk about food disparities and insecurities.
Yeah. That could be cool. I would like to talk about monopolies soon.
Yes, and robber barons like Bezos.
Robber baron.
Yeah. I love the part of the Second Thoughts video where he says Jeff Bezos has the ability on a whim to end world hunger. I'm just like, I want to punch him in his stupid face. You are gross. You can't spend that. No, I will never understand that. And he does have things that he does that are not bad.
So does Lex Luthor.
I don't know where to end that. It's not going to be good.
Look, we're not all. We're not all Jeff Bezos, so stay humanist for God's sake.
Yay!